Welcome to Ceana TV. You are watching from Ceana Central, hosted by Ofo Steve and Empress Mawushi. Ceana, helping build Everland.
Mado Egbe na amashama. Welcome to Ceana Central. Ba mi ba yivie gaka mi trogbo. Itamiado apeye yevegbe na amashama. Egba, we are starting with a bang. Avna Egba mahoji. Nyanko nye Ofo Steve. Abale kemi wane. Koshira. Mi ive dida mavie. Gaka ale kemi wane koshira. No ba hoji ala kwa kajaba nyavelia. Miapa mamaga ihanava hoji. Eta egba mamaga le miadome. Eta madezon. Na mia yide Chicago. Na miave miapa mamaga. Mama Sedudzi. Heke mika yonaba Empress Mawushi.
Nyasila klo nupola modo wezonami. Enye Mama Sedudzi. AKA Empress Mawushi. Enyo gayo naba tugbozuku. Nem yekpom la fiya moko ala shadareji komi anyaba Ceana Central evado. Moto afaye ye po jogbe nwe na miakata. Miakata makajipa miafa lamo woli sesiye. Agbanya mile joje pa unkaka enyili agbele epa akpabla vovo atolia. Yes. That nyasla klo nupola omunyoko mi plan for 2025. Fifi life yade mia zo yingode ne mia va sabublu dodo viado de ne mia gatrogba. Like at the moment mi ma wana na mia double number mia manela omojifia and then me drop all boy 8 ava 10 20 30 na ma komia no ma mema da mi ga kashi mo mi ga troga back bi. Welcome to Ceana TV. You are watching from Ceana Central, hosted by Ofo Steve and Empress Mawushi. Ceana, helping build Everland.
Ngato ki kan mi ya fani mega po mi po.
Fina mi agai. FPF for mi lelo. Robenya vie jojo. Jajara do na Ceana 2025. Ya ko wo mi le rehearsal so de le jajado wo. Mile me ya fide ko mile.
Oh, nyate fa ya. You must be ma register at Dallas 2025. Because that's the only way my tongue get access to their hotel. I can't really worry. No, you may register this year. He never job. He my tongue at the convention or would they refund my money to me?
What true for now? Never and Ghana registration. I've been to Moda Matemba convention the Tanaswa. We are cool 11 when you were now your convention organizers. Then I know my other than what true for now. 11 and your waffy August 2nd 2025. Now do about don't hold back our Katan.
Nyatepa
nyakwe mi onu. Bekwe fefu be di fefete mi yakwe mi date kwe here August 13, 2025. No nya yoko wa cancel hotel reservations akwa agana.
You know what? You're too early to register for the convention now. The convention is update in August 2025.
Our phone and registration. Ekpala de Ceana Movena would do near as an outie. Uhala Apo Hotel Penny Fede and
Apena de upe ya bede dem. Wini nyoto ma register. Mawe kaba. Ma ya no zingi gomita. Apato buipe kolobadu. Ote no register. Na mi afansa. Bepere.
Efo. Ehon ko benkolo. Yami. Yame we mi yom ya beku meto we mi a register mi a vadala. Azalo.
Mama As a Dallas stopper, near what the motor the car ever hall of uncle, you hall of
Anya
uncle.
da funam vie gaka. Akpakpam na nu hanam tad. I'll just leave it there for now.
Ever hall of more, open cockpello.
Mama
Anyway,
onya ahanunko. One of these days, Alabama treat ahanunko. Eh.
Yeah, we have a huge program ahead of us. I'm a gando le miadomi because a nyado jim le duama. Hiaba miadro nyamoma. Miakpoba leke nyao yim do. Yeta mikpa amagama gado no ava no miadoma. Banto yenye miapa nunola. Alo miyanapa Ceana for president. Ceana ba president le miadoma. Aba ya dopo ye ba jobbenina amesha ya dopo gbe nami. Eta mi ga kwe po ka mi aklive na wa apono na apa duko. Mi aba president Dr. TSATSU NYAMADI. Maraku Doug, Maraku leke, wezon lo.
Yo, Steve, play Mama Sedudzi, American Mazono, Mia Wizon.
Yo, mi zore no. Mi zore ngo la Maraku na yi.
Oh, okay. Ka abale mi woni na miawu kwenya eve dukofa eve parro miawu shi gankile. Alabe mi no ga ko ki fom ne to katanta egba enye jijo manya glore be manu mi adoma egba alabe mia ado gbene eve duko katan beria epo yo katavayi epo akpeve ple blave vo ne vaya edo yo katami wo nana yo katami yo mechichi trele vio katale North America beria akpenami nya wodo nya po nana kata wodo gere tamia dugbera be ogaji reginami abe ape ya mi lafia epo akpe eve ple blave vo aton mushiang nyo kata mi na osugboreji alebe mi akotu aboduko kere kuma ga dakpe na machama ba nyama ga kpo mi kata kpo le epo ya mo ta makarji be nyafe dona nyafe lama nyafe kumu kata le sesien enye jijo manya globe aboduko wowo egere mi adoma alebe ma dakpe na mi be miavio miafo mianovio kata le Ceana le North America afisha fine mi anko semala mi awodo mi okpere aboduko fo ngogbe yin tare akpe na mi abomonga kumio afia mi cho America mo gana mi mi anto ku wagata kaya ne wo aroke ne be wa temetewa ke epo ya maria na bade jifu no be gbugbo na gawe mi shang na wo malavio elologan e kana wo akpere aboduko nko ke funya no vinyo le fofonyo kata yikwi kata miafofu alebe miawore kaweji kama gada kpebe mianovio kata va kpomi epe va yi le Loveland Colorado mede akpe manya blogare nami miafe dowona miafe nana miafe sedudo enabe Ceana edowom edo kata mi dashina miafe vedu kope ngogbe ya mi dowom ta akpe nami akpe manya blo kata miafe nana okle miafe novio wo ke mia novio mote no mia doma le Loveland Colorado eji kamaga chofu efo ya ma anya fo gara amashama kpambaria miena edu garma Dallas taria fisha fiena le nkonye Samaria bedu ta flatse gara now you novio yo vio ofumoto neba kata yo kata baria mashama na no gbadun alebe mia jemo Dallas mia dugu emi godu gele September ma goji gaka najibe aye ajiba na je agbadudu gba abala mi wonia na mi la pa nya fufu pe me mama wa afi ozoma ojona agbadudu goma ta mande kupuna review kata amayo evanigba ngogbe yi ka mi kore mashama ne dogo nya dogo Dallas ke apnyega jia kuma globe nya amayo le North America fia mienya be miawa ale miela amashama le jijia epe dokomi wona enya amayo miawo kado kuma na mikata miawo dore eseji alebene mi dore siko miape kebio yehowa kata aklomi ka egba mada pene Ceana radio toba uplu esenya wo domotoro sikebo varengu gumanami ka ke amashama mikata miele duyama arofisa afiana le ko funya enye nyinya ka gwana beria enye lawyer yo branya be menye susu kata lawyer mo vona aw enye manya eberia lawyer wa fisha fiola unya ese itola ta mo vona na ko ta fisha fiena la le Canada o le America o le UK o afiana le Korea nye do mo pese na nye do mo pese Korea amarka magbona le kuma vojidogonao ta madakpene Ceana media to boklo amoyonye sepanyaw odremo na mita mashama nonte ya bia seto aragomnami na kaye gomnye so ka marakupuna Ceana media to Steve diploma bare ka na mi be yoga ko bia ro akoyi aga cover ka anyo taru madakpena mi nyawo doga ka efu ya mepon na mi ganglebo nie dogere won na evoduko no ganne mo ma vagleta ma roto kwe ko nya ni kata mia nunte mia sanya ya dakpene efu diploma aseruji edomiela nyam nyoto mia podo nya de du ko mana kama tugona mi tam nya onya du ko du vio penami mi don
Yo, prezo akpe na ha. Yo, mama abale ke wogli na ka na minya ba so wala gade alo lawyer de lako yana lawyer le gbama. Lako yana lawyer le gbama.
Ma sato
Aseto enya lawyer. Ah well. Let me try ya mi get any mi ba mi asro gbama mi ba strong man. Ita mi get kakabale ka president glina nya dakpene nya tepe na mi mo ba mia pe lawyer gada kada le mia doma ye senyala ye akpe yo ma senyala nye senyala akpe ni mi va mia sra gbeto le mia doma eta o gba fia mi eta senyala ga le mia doma ke mia yideji na mia pi no ava eta mama marku makai domoro mi agbo ndi alondo kuchia kakama de kukuba na vaji body yo nyaba wona amo todom wona eta na anyo ami ado evu gbabia da mi ade kuku na mi ato mi ado evu gbabia da de na mi akokofo na eta mama marku na twa mama marku na twa ni a welcome ya ba senyala
nya ma se fugbo ta fo gba ko doga malata miapa am vevia mi ko gbonava miapa sho ajigba mianto vakpo kaka enyawo va subo enyawo limia bia tata mi te bia kata le anyino pare kao ta aka take off time his busy schedule aga vabe yadan ngoma afiami bada kuku mi kpere nwunye na mi ado wezona lawyer AKPALU. Alaba mi have ni clapping
clapper ajo mafu na nyaba nyaba producer de nyaba producer gade no awodojo a clapper ngunami yo marako atwadi afiamia
yo
mada kokolo mama said you marako atwadi afiamia
marako what the fear because I don't
yo Kamarku Madam, Miafa Senyala Gakala Miadoma, who is our immigration lawyer that we have with us this morning, be it afternoon where you may be. Marco, his name is lawyer John AKPALU. He attended Keta Secondary School and Laboni Secondary School in Accra. He attended the University of Ghana, Legon, where he read law. He was called to the Ghana Bar in 1987 and was a teaching assistant at Legon Faculty of Law. At the same time, he was a law teacher at GIMPA and by then it was called Professional Studies, IPS. From there, he went to pursue his LLM, which is Masters of Laws degree in Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada. He then obtained a second LLM, which is a master's degree from the Harvard Law School, and a third LLM in taxation from the University of Denver Graduate Tax Program in Colorado. He also has a master's in information and library science from the Pratt Institute in New York. Mr. AKPALU was called to the New York bar in 1994 and has since been in private practice. He worked for some law firms, but since 2006, he has had his own practice. He's going in, he is into general practice, but with concentration in workers' compensation, social security, disability, but most importantly for today, immigration. He has practice in the areas of wills and estate, real estate, forfeiture, and a few others. Mr. Lawyer AKPALU is admitted to the New York courts, the U.S. Tax Court, the United States District Courts for the Southern and the Eastern District of New York, and the United States Courts of Appeal for Armed Services. Miapa Lawyer AKPALU is extremely a passionate person, and he engages in public services. It is our pleasure and honor to welcome Lawyer AKPALU, and I must say, but he has been offering a lot of services to Ceana. He's one of our premier and legal advisors to Ceana. Lawyer AKPALU Mariku Weizon.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks.
Yo, Mariku Aning, we have introduced you. Minyaba, there is a lot going on. You have practice in various areas. You specialize in various areas. Gakayo, Nyaba, we have some pertinent issues going on with the immigration issues. Mariku, I take opportunity to tell us a little bit about what is going on, what is the law, what should we be looking out for, and what we need to do if we happen to find ourselves, or friends that don't find ourselves with some brush of the law, what can be done? Mariku, let's concede the floor to you. Nana Apononami.
Okay. I want to take this opportunity to thank Ceana for inviting me to educate our people on the current state of immigration in America. We all know about one of the promises of the current president when he was campaigning for election was that he was going to deport 11 million people. If you just calculate, but it will take 30 years. If you catch 1,000 people a day and deport them, to deport 11 million people, it will take 30 years for you to achieve that objective. So realistically, there is no way that the president is going to deport 11 million people. To deport people, you need resources. You need the countries that are not in Latin America where you can just drop them off to cooperate with their passport, let's say, passe, whatever travel documentation you will need to send them back home. So it is not easy to deport that many people. Granted, but a lot of people are afraid that we still need to take care of ourselves and also take care so that we don't fall victims to immigration rates. And I am going to start off this way. Now, we know that the Immigration Service is targeting people for deportation. Who are those people that are being targeted? In the 1990s, when Ghanaians come to the US and they want a work permit, the easiest thing for them to do is to apply for asylum. And when you apply for asylum, you are saying that because of some political activity back home, or because of your belonging to an ethnic group or some religious minority, you are being persecuted in Ghana. Now, if you file for asylum, they don't even wait and go into the merits. They just send you a work permit, and with the work permit, you get a social security card, and the old work permits and social security cards are then used to work without any questions being asked. It was later that they started adding to social security cards not valid for work without authorization, but the old social security cards are just blank and you can use them to work anywhere. Eventually, those people who applied for asylum were asked to come to immigration court to substantiate their asylum application. And because most of them did not have any proof, not only were they denied asylum, they were ordered deported. Now, if you did not want to be deported, you took what is called voluntary departure. Voluntary departure means that instead of being deported, I want to buy my own tickets and go back home. The judge will give you a date by which you should leave the country. If you leave the country before that date or on that date, then you are not deported, and that means you can come back to the US anytime without any problem. However, if you take voluntary departure and you did not leave, then the voluntary departure becomes an order of deportation, and therefore you are considered to have been ordered deported. So if you remember, there was a list recently with over 3,000 Ghanaians on it. Those are not people who have been arrested and are being deported. Those are people who are in the immigration court system as having been ordered deported but are still in the US. Because if you have an A number and you have been ordered deported, your name is added to a list. So the 3,000 and over number you see are Ghanaians who apply for asylum, or they apply for some benefit, they were denied, they were sent to immigration court, and they were ordered deported, but were not taken into custody because immigration expected them to leave by themselves, or they applied for voluntary departure that they were going to leave the US by themselves, and they ended up staying anyway. And that voluntary departure became an order of deportation. So for those people, if immigration, or let's say ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, gets hold of you now, they are not going to send you back to immigration court because the judge has already decided that it should not be in the country. So those people are the ones that ICE is looking for. Those who have been ordered deported but are still here. The second group of people are people who have overstayed their visa. Those people are not being actively looked for. But if you overstay your visa and they come to arrest somebody who is deportable or who has been ordered deported, and ICE questions you and finds out that you are also here and you have overstayed your visa, you can be added to the person who is being deported, even though they are not looking for you. And the visa violators or the visa overstayers also include people who apply to come to school on F1 visa and it ended up not going to the school at all or dropping their courses mid-term because they give you the F1 visa for duration of stay or duration of your studies. So anytime you drop out of school, you are deemed to have violated your visa status. And if ICE gets hold of you, you can also be deported back to your country. There are also people who have been served with a process to come to immigration court. What happens is that immigration will send you what is called an order to show cause, and they send it by certified mail to your last address. Once they send you an order to show cause, if you do not report to immigration courts, the judge will order you deported in your absence. And once you're ordered deported in your absence, it is as if you went to court and you were ordered deported. So for those people also, once ICE gets hold of you, they are not going to send you back to court. They are going to deport you. However, if you can prove that you did not receive the notice or the notice was misdirected in some way, you can file a motion to set aside the deportation order. But you have to call a lawyer right away and do it expeditiously. Otherwise, you may find yourself in detention and then being deported without it being your fault if you did not receive the notice of order to show cause. The fifth category of people are green card holders who have been convicted of some crime. The immigration law has made a lot of crimes what is called an aggravated felony, and some are as minor as drunken driving or being caught with some small amount of illegal drugs. And once you have been convicted of that, you are deportable even though you have a green card. So if you are a green card holder and you have some conviction, then be careful and do not get into the hands of immigration, because what will happen is that they'll grab you and send you to immigration court and try to deport you or have the judge order you deported. Now, one thing about filing for citizenship, the best way to protect yourself here in the US is to file for citizenship. But there is one caveat. Anytime you file for citizenship, you have to be aware that Immigration Service will have another chance to look at your green card. So citizenship is not just a way of avoiding the consequences of being a green card holder, but it's also a way of making sure that you are protected, because to take away someone's citizenship, you have to go to the district courts and file a lawsuit against the person and prove that the person did not deserve the citizenship that was granted. So it is better to be a citizen than to have a green card. However, as I indicated to you, you have to be very careful when you apply for citizenship. And there are situations in which your application for citizenship will not only result in your citizenship application being denied, but also result in your being put in deportation for them to take away your green card. Let me give you just two examples. Let's say your mother or father files for you whilst you are in Ghana. Now, at the time of your interview or before your interview, your mother or father passes away. Anytime a petitioner dies, the petition becomes void. So it means that that petition is dead. You can file for what is called humanitarian reinstatement. You can plead with the government to reinstate the petition. But if you do not do that, and the consular officer at the U.S. consulate invites you for interview without knowing that the petitioner has passed away, they will give you the green card stamp, the immigrant visa stamp in your passport. You will come here and you will get your green card. But if after all that, during the time that you apply for citizenship, they are able to find out that at the time you got your visa, the one who petitioned for you had passed on, then the law is that you are not entitled to that green card. And therefore, not only can they deny you the citizenship, they can also revoke your green card by sending you to court on an order to show cause. The second situation in which it happens is that immigration law determines who you can file for. So if you are a citizen, you can file a petition for your married and unmarried children. Green card holders can only file for their unmarried children. So if you're a green card holder and you have a child in Ghana who is married, you cannot file for that person. Only citizens can file. Therefore, when we lawyers file petitions for green card holders and the petitions are for their unmarried children, we'll tell them that that child cannot marry until they come into the US and get their green card. After they get their green card, they can marry. But before that, they cannot marry. Once they marry, the petition is no longer valid. It happens that people get their green cards, they come into the US, and then they file for their husbands without consulting with a lawyer. Now, the marriage date on the petition is a date before the visa interview or a date after the visa interview and the date of issuance of the immigrant visa, but before they came to the US. Which means that by getting married before the visa interview or even after the visa interview, but before you came into the US and got your green card, you have voided the petition. So if you apply for your husband or your wife, or you apply for citizenship, and they ask you on the citizenship application or on the petition, are you married? You say yes. Your husband's name or your wife's name, you put the name down, date of marriage. If they see that the date of marriage was before the date that you became a permanent resident, it means that your green card is not valid. And not only will they deny you the citizenship, they will revoke your green card, or they will send you to immigration court for your green card to be revoked. I've had situations where I have to go to immigration court and defend those people because they did not seek legal advice. So when you're applying for citizenship, be very careful. There are people who get married to US citizens, and the law allows them to apply for citizenship after they have obtained their green card for 3 years. If you file for citizenship 3 years after you've gotten your green card because you're married to a US citizen, just know that that citizenship application is going to result in a review of your marriage petition and application for green card again. So if immigration determines at that time that there was a problem with your marriage or that they suspect some marriage fraud, not only will they deny the citizenship, they will put you in deportation proceedings. So be careful when you file for citizenship after you are married to a citizen for the 3 years. It is better to wait for 5 years. When you apply for citizenship after 5 years of residence, you are applying based on the fact that you have been a permanent resident for 5 years. It has nothing to do with your marriage. But if you apply in 3 years, then you're asking immigration to look through your marriage again. So be careful. The other thing I need to warn you is that when people came here in the 90s and early 2000s, because they were desperate for papers, they applied for so many things. Some people applied for Liberian TPS. Some people applied for the late amnesty using different names. And then they also applied for the green card lottery, again, using different names. And they were lucky that one of the names was picked up and they were able to get a green card in that name. During those times, they did not send you to a place to take your biographic information. Your fingerprint was done on some cards. You go to a place near immigration, a private premise, and then they brought out the card, and then they brought out the ink pad, and you did your fingerprint, and then you include those cards in your application. Most of those cards were just left in the files. But now immigration is scanning those cards into their computer. So you might find out that you apply for citizenship, and then immigration tells you you filed 2 other applications under different names. You would think that because you got your green card through the through the DV lottery and those names did not come up, you are home free. Not knowing that between that time and now, they have scanned your previous fingerprints into the database, and now they're able to find out that you used 2 other names in the past. So again, if you know you have filed multiple petitions or applications with different names and different information, different dates of birth, just hold on to your green card and go and come and don't apply for citizenship. Okay. So that is what I will say for now. Now, how do you protect yourself, or how do you plan? I know that people come here with multiple visas, a 5-year or a 10-year visa, They stay here for some time and they go back to Ghana. The thing about multiple visas is that anytime you come to the US with a multiple visa, let's say a 5-year or a 10-year multiple visa, it does not mean that you can stay here as long as you want. It means that during 5 years or during the 10 years of the visa, you can come and go any number of times without going back for a new visa. But now the law is that if you come with a multiple visa and you overstay, that visa becomes void and canceled. You have to go back and apply for a new visa, and you have to explain to the US Embassy why you overstayed your visa. It is possible in certain situations where you have not overstayed your visa for you to be denied entry into the US. Now, how does it happen? Anytime you come to the airport with a green card, with a US passport, with a visa, we say that you are presenting yourself for admission. The fact that you took a plane and came to the airport does not mean US immigration has to automatically let you into the country. You are presenting yourself for admission, and therefore you can be denied admission. Assuming you'll go to the US Embassy for a visitor's visa. You say, I'm coming to visit my uncle, or I'm coming for my nephew's graduation. So you get a visitor's visa. We call it a B1, B2 visa. Now you come to the airport and the officers are a bit suspicious. So they put you aside for what we call secondary inspection. During secondary inspection, they can inspect your phone, they can inspect your luggage, they can inspect anything, they can ask you more questions. So in secondary inspection, they open your luggage and they see that you've applied to various US universities to attend school. The officer can conclude that you are not here to visit, even though you have a visitor's visa. You are not here to visit, but your intention is actually to stay here and go to school because of what they find in your luggage. And they can send you back to Ghana on an expedited basis, even though you have a valid visa for the US. Same thing if you have a multiple visa. Let's say you came here on a multiple visa, you stayed here for 5 months. Usually they give you 6 months. You stay here for 5 months and then you go back to Ghana because you don't want to overstay. You go back to Ghana and then you buy a ticket, and 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, you are coming back to the US. The officer may again refer you for secondary inspection, even though you have a valid multiple visa and even though you left within the time they gave you the last time. Because the question the officer has is this: what were you doing in America for 5 months that you could not complete, and you have to go back and come back in 2 weeks to complete? And during the secondary inspection, they may find out from your luggage, from your phone, that you are actually working in the US. And if they find out you were working, or they are suspicious that you are doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, they can also return you to Ghana. When they are returning you to Ghana from the airport, once you are not a citizen or a green card holder, they don't have to take you to court. They can just put you back on the next plane and send you out. So if you have a multiple visa, be sure that you leave before the expiration of the time they give you, and make sure that you don't go and come back quickly after staying here for a long time, because that gives the impression that you are doing something here that you are not supposed to be doing. The other thing is advance parole. When you file for a green card, you are not allowed to travel without permission. If you file for a green card and you travel, you are considered to have abandoned your green card application. The only way you can travel whilst there's a green card application pending is through what we call advance parole. So you apply for advance parole, immigration gives you 30 days. They give you a document with your photograph on it, and you can use that to travel and come back. And those are given based on the fact that you may have an emergency. There may be a death or a sickness in Ghana, and you may need to attend to that. So they will give you that So for you to go and come back. However, know that it is again not automatic that once you left with an advance parole document, that you have to be led back into the country. After the September 11 attack, there were many people from Pakistan, from Yemen, from Afghanistan, who had valid advance parole documents. They were here with H-1B visas, with valid documents here. They just traveled on advance parole. But after the September 11th attack, they just sent all of them back at the airport. And even though those were not lawful in the sense that they had a right to be here, they had valid visas, how are you going to take immigration to court once you're in Pakistan or Afghanistan or somewhere? Okay, and recently there was a case with one Ghanaian lawyer. I think some of you heard. Okay, so immigration law changed some years ago, and a law was passed called VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act. Okay, so assuming that you come into the US, you marry a citizen, and the citizen files for you, and there's domestic violence, the citizen is beating you up, doing all sorts of things to you. You might be inclined not to report him to the police. You might be inclined not to even seek help or go to the hospital because your fate is in the hands of that person who filed for you. So they created a situation whereby if you can prove that you are a victim of domestic violence, either from your spouse or from your child who has filed for you, you can file by yourself. So if you can prove that your husband or wife was abusive, you have hospital records, you have photographs, you have psychiatric reports to back that up, you can file by yourself and ignore the husband or the wife who was maltreating you. So that is called VAWA. And what happened with this lawyer is that if someone is from Mexico and is illegal here or is unlawfully here, he has had children here, the sons and daughters are citizens, they can file for him. But because he did not come in with a visa, he cannot get his green card here. If he were to go back to Mexico, because they overstayed here for so many years, there is a bar of 10 years before he can come back. So how then does the son or daughter who is over 21 and is a citizen file for him? So what this lawyer was doing was that the lawyer will file VAWA and say the son was abusing the father. Okay, so the lawyer will file VAWA, and then once the VAWA is pending, the lawyer will file for advance parole for the father. The father will travel with the advance parole to Mexico and come back with the advance parole. Now, the law says that once you enter the U.S. with a valid permission, which is advance parole, your son, daughter, wife, or husband can then file for you here.
Wow.
So once the father comes back for advance parole, the lawyer will then write to withdraw the VAWA petition. And then the son will then use the fact that he came in, inspected, to file for him. So he did that for quite a lot of people. And the unfortunate thing which landed him on TV was that one father went to Mexico with the advance parole document. And when he returned, immigration determined that the VAWA petition that he filed was fraudulent. Therefore, once the underlying petition was fraudulent, it means that the advance parole document would not help him to enter the US. So they deported him back to Mexico. And the son, who was a citizen here, did not know that the lawyer had concocted a story about him beating up his father and all that. So he called Channel 4 News, and it became a big news item. And then from there, the U.S. attorney started investigating, and then the New York Attorney General came in, and it became a very big case. So know that you can have advance parole You can travel to Ghana on advanced parole, but if you pay to marry somebody and file your green card that way, or there's some issue with your green card, and they detect that, you may come back to the US with the advanced parole and not be able to enter. So I will advise that if you have a pending application for a green card, you wait until you get your green card before you go. Also, there was a lady who called me. She's from Eritrea. She called me because she had traveled to Eritrea and come back with a green card. She had applied for citizenship but did not wait to become a citizen. She traveled to Eritrea before coming back. Now, if you apply for asylum, you are saying that your life is in danger in that country. So if you apply for asylum, you are from Eritrea, you are granted asylum, how were you able to travel back to Eritrea without anybody killing you there? So what she should have done was to have waited and gotten her citizenship before traveling. After you get your citizenship, they don't care where you go to. You can go to any country. So traveling on advanced parole has its own dangers. Okay, and okay, so that is about planning. Now, how does immigration find out people that they want to deport? What are the ways that they find it? Because everybody is scared. People are not going to work. People are hiding in their houses. People wouldn't go to church. People wouldn't go to gatherings anymore. How does immigration find those that they are targeting? And targeting, I mean, as of now, people who have had criminal records and people who have been ordered deported or who took voluntary departure but did not leave the US. Okay. The first way that immigration finds these people is what is called detainers. So, for example, you are driving drunk and you are arrested. In some states, immigration has an agreement with local law enforcement that before you release anybody, you give immigration 48 hours notice. So you are driving drunk, you are arrested in New York, they take you to Rikers Island. Immigration will be informed 48 hours before they release you that we have someone here who we believe is not here legally. So immigration will then come and pick you up from Rikers Island into immigration detention, and from there they will process you for deportation. The second way is what is called 287J. There are some states that local law enforcement, like the police or the sheriff's office, is deputized by immigration to act as immigration officers. So that is why you see some roadblocks in Texas and other places with local law enforcement checking people's immigration papers, because they have registered with immigration to act as federal law enforcement, and because of that, they're able to stop cars and find out who is here legally. Now, immigration or ICE also has targeted enforcement operations. They may find out that somebody is living somewhere or is working at a location, and they may target that location and go there.
You can put my phone number there. That's
and go there to look
you
for
can call in with your questions.
that individual.
Yeah, we are opening the phone lines.
So when they have those targeted operations and they come for that person and you are also there, they'll get you too. But those are people who are there with, other individuals, maybe 2, 3, 4 people. They are not going to come into a big church or a big party and target everyone, because if they target too many people who are US citizens, there can be a lawsuit and there can be problems. So they do that in small, intimate places where they can have just a few people there. And also they think that in a large crowd, their lives may be in danger. People may assault them. So they're also very conscious about that. So huge gatherings are not normally places that ICE will target. Now, immigration also has access to various databases. The Department of Homeland Security, which is the umbrella group for ICE, has databases that they check. to find out where people live. They may check motor vehicle department records to see which address people are using. They may check employment records. So if you have received food stamps or some social services, they may get your information from there. Immigration also receive tips from the public. And then they also do worksite enforcement. Every employer is supposed to file a form called an I-9 and keep a copy on their file. And the I-9 is supposed to verify those who are legally able to work here. So if immigration determines that a lot of people are working in a location and they are undocumented, they may go to the workplace and surround the place. And that is one way they get people. So those are just a few ways that they get people. Also, social media. If you're someone who is very active on Facebook and they are looking for you, it's easy to find you from there. If you have a credit card, they can do a credit check on you and find out your new address and your most recent addresses and use that to find you. So they have various databases, various ways, but as I said, as of now, the targeted people are people who are either fugitives, they have committed crimes, they have been ordered deported, and they took voluntary departure, they did not leave. And because of that, I would advise that we should not overly panic. Even though it is easy to panic, we should not overly panic because they have not yet progressed to the stage where they are stopping everybody. These are all targeted operations. I will wait here and then take questions. I know it's the question time that we get many issues addressed. I'll wait here and invite your questions. Thank you.
Yo, Akpa, thank you so much. But you've given us so much information. Itadi, Nyamanyana, Mama said that you have a question right away. What we are going to do is that we're going to open the phone lines as well. We do have the chat that you can ask questions. Mama Nyode, should we take just about a few seconds break day? Then we can come back with the questions.
Marukwe, when your boss at a number, me I take break or me I take break. Nyasela Nupala, Mika Kashimo, Mika Troga Vakbi.
Welcome to Ceana TV. You are watching from Ceana Central, hosted by Ofo Steve and Empress Maushi. Ceana, helping build Everland.
Hododio Namu. Etekebo. 2025 is finally here. Have you registered yet? If yes, great. See you in Dallas soon. If no, what are you waiting for? Do so today to book your place for the most exciting fan-filled convention yet to come. Register today and let's meet at the Big D to make it memorable.
Machonye nuse awodo na mawu for my way ne woname machonye nuse awodo for my way Sonye nuse awodo na mawu esia for my way Babokokwe oh machonye nuse awodo na mawu esia. You can give the Lord a dance in this place, come on.
Penya Media for your immense sponsorship.
Welcome to Ceana TV. You are watching from Ceana Central, hosted by Ofo Steve and Empress Mawushi. Ceana, helping build Everland.
Hey! Nyato well, a todo mama Sedudzi Yamagaragana Empress Mausi, a lot to Bazukukla, a first Steve Lesiana talk to a diva here, the Mammy Dachon, Ndiga with the Kevaser dog.
Yo, thank you. Welcome back to Ceana Central. Today we are talking to lawyer AKPALU, who is an immigration lawyer here in the New York area. He has been giving us a lot of information about immigration. So we have also opened the phone lines. If you can send in your question, if you can test your question, you can also call 773-960-5416. That's 773-960-5416 with your questions. Mama Marco biabiara la shiona lawyer AKPALU.
Biabiara kama la shinya ko kama chima la comments yo amo type the comment section and so far just to keep people motivated. Nemia no comments agblamdi nemia hami po comments ako you ko down Salomon nami nemia no show a warm sesi authentic mama ba ayuko nami Ofo Steve bla David Maushi committed ba ayuko Vivienne nami high five committed have a welcome Dr. Chachu and Ofo AKPALU Matilda Akaho about woohoo go kita school makaha Martin Osai Reverend Martin Osai is watching from Dallas. I am looking forward to welcoming the what?
The whole Ceana family.
The whole Ceana family to Dallas for Ceana 2025. Alumana ma oglema.
Yeah,
Makaha galafima. Yamodo gan quick ba otade. Make ma ache afoche ba. What happens if Ofo Steve Marco Hinam?
Okay, but what happens if a dual citizen departs the U.S. on a foreign passport without departing on a U.S. passport? Lawyer AKPALU.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Marco, we can hear you.
Okay. Manyaba, that question is because of the recent confusion that was caused by someone posting by an Ivorian citizen returned from Ivory Coast and her U.S. passport was seized because she did not go to Ivory Coast on the U.S. passport. Now, the first thing I would say is that law has been on the books for many, many years. It has nothing to do with Trump, and Trump did not sign any executive order to that effect. No matter feel about Trump sign executive order, but people should live only with a U.S. passport. That is not the case. Now, the entity that should be worried about you going to a country without that country's visa or passport should be the airline. Because anytime an airline brings someone into a country without that person having the legal right to go to that country, not only is the airline fined, the airline has to pay to take that person back to where they took him or her from. That anytime an airline brings somebody from any foreign country to the U.S. without checking their proper documentation to show that they are entitled to come to the U.S., the U.S. imposes a fine on the airline and also detains the person, and that airline has to take the person back to wherever they picked the person from. That is why when you are flying with Delta, after checking in, when you go to the Delta counter, they also do another check-in at the counter before they allow you to board the flight, because they don't want to take you back to Ghana without you having the permission to be in Ghana. Otherwise, they are going to be punished by the Ghana authorities, and they're also going to be asked to take you back to the US. When you leave the US, when you are checking in at immigration, what you show them is the US passport. If they ask you or they look through your passport and there is no visa, and they ask you, where are you going? Say, I'm going to Ghana. The moment you show them a Ghana passport or a Ghana card, that is your visa. The Ghana passport is your visa. The Ghana card is your visa, because anyone holding a country's passport is allowed to enter that country. So it is not the job of the US to determine whether you can go to Ghana or not. If they determine that the Ghana passport is forged or the Ghana card is forged, that's a different issue. But so long as you have a valid Ghana card and a valid Ghana passport, and you show your US passport to immigration at the counter, that is what it means by leaving the US with a US passport. So you cannot have a Ghana passport or a Ghana card and have US immigration asking you if you have a visa to go to Ghana, because the passport and Ghana card are the visas, are what gives you permission to go to Ghana. And that has always been the case even before Trump came. Trump has not changed anything. When we are leaving Ghana, you show them your Ghana passport, and they will ask you, where is your visa to go to the US? Then you show them the US passport. So the US passport in Ghana then becomes your visa to come back to the US. So when they say you should leave with the US passport and come with the US passport, nobody shows a Ghana passport to US immigration and goes to Ghana without showing them the US passport. It is possible that some immigration officers, because of Trump being in power, are carried away and they are enforcing their own laws. We have many of us, including myself, have traveled to Ghana so many times. We've never had to obtain a Ghana visa to go to Ghana if we have a Ghana passport or a Ghana card. So that is something that is new. Now, I saw two TikTok videos. When I called the Ghana embassy in Washington, D.C., they pointed me to a TikTok video which says exactly what I'm saying, that U.S. immigration cannot prevent someone with a Ghana passport or a Ghana card from going to Ghana, or insist that they get a U.S. visa. They get a Ghana visa to go to Ghana. However, I saw another video from a consular officer in Worcester. They interviewed him, and he also said, yes, that is the law. You are not required to get a visa to go to Ghana, because even the US passport has Ghana in as your place of birth. So once you are from Ghana, you have your Ghana passport, your Ghana card, you are going to Ghana, you are not supposed to get a visa, or they are not supposed to ask you to get a visa. However, he was advising that because of Trump and what is happening, people should just go and get a visa just to not to have any problems. But I take serious issue with that, because I don't think that if Jews are traveling to Israel and they have Israeli passports, they are required to get Israeli visas in their US passports to travel. They are allowed to travel on their Israeli passports without the need for a visa, and that is how it should be for all countries. So what the Ghana embassy should be doing, first of all, they should have the same voice.
Sure.
We shouldn't have the consular officer in Washington saying one thing and the consular officer in Worcester saying another thing.
Sure.
They should have the same voice, and they should put out a public announcement that any Ghanaian who is asked to show a visa in order to travel to Ghana, if they have a Ghana card or Ghana's passport, should contact the embassy. Then they should compile all those complaints and make a diplomatic protest to the U.S. State Department. And the U.S. State Department will then contact their immigration officers and tell them, look, that is not the law. You are not supposed to be requiring visas from people who are traveling if they have that country's passport. I have a friend who is going to Ghana next week, and he said someone, a friend of his at the airport, experienced the same thing, and he had to pay $250 and get a visa on arrival letter from Ghana immigration to show to them before they allowed him to check in his luggage. So our consulate should be collecting all those scenarios and making a protest with the U.S. State Department. He told me this, and which, if it is true, I'll be very disappointed, that knowing our people, if they can get everyone to apply for a Ghana visa and make money, they wouldn't do anything. They would rather have all of us apply for visa so they can get the dollars from us.
Of course.
Instead of doing the right thing and protesting and having this policy not implemented.
Yeah, AKPALU.
So the law is that if you are holding a Ghana passport or a Ghana card, you show your U.S. passport to immigration. If they ask you for a Ghana visa, you show them the Ghana passport. But you are not required to have a visa. If they are doing that, then our embassy should protest to this. And if all fails, then anyone with a Ghana passport or Ghana visa should be given a free visa on arrival letter to show to U.S. immigration. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Afochika. So that is the answer to your question. Okay, so one of the concerns that, let's come back to the U.S. immediately about Trump, right? Okay, so, or ICE, right? So some of the concern is about the rates. Okay, we know, but typical immigrant community, we have community events. You had indicated earlier, but it is not likely for large events to be raided. Gaka, there are some few communities that I know that has, serious concerns. But if we are going to, let's say we have our independence celebration coming up in a few weeks, I know for sure, I just got a call from Dallas that they have canceled their independence. It was scheduled, they have canceled. I know Chicago had an emergency meeting last night and they were considering canceling that. I haven't gotten the official confirmation yet, but it's likely that they are canceling the Ghana independence celebration in Chicago. All being predicated on the fact that we are creating an atmosphere where others could find themselves in danger. AKPALU, what do you have to tell the organizers of such events?
Okay, to be frank with everyone on this program, there is a lot of hypocrisy that goes with U.S. immigration. Okay, there's a lot of hypocrisy which goes with U.S. immigration. Just a few days ago, 19 undocumented immigrants came to a TV studio to state, some of them with documentation, that they used to work for Trump. They worked in his hotels. Some of them even served him dinner. And everyone knew that those people were from Mexico, and most likely, most of them were undocumented. They even had keys to his houses, and they could go in any time to clean them. A lot of industries in the U.S., you talk about the fires in California that went over 1,000 houses. Who are going to be the construction workers to rebuild those homes? What about the orange farms? The orange farms in California and Florida? Who is going to plug the oranges for those multi-billion-dollar industries? What about the dairy farms? Who is going to milk the cows? What about the hurricanes in North Carolina and those places that destroy many businesses? Who is going to do the rebuilding? So everyone knows that there's a lot of hypocrisy surrounding illegal immigration. In fact, about a year ago, Florida passed a law against undocumented immigrants. And what was happening was that they started, all these people from Mexico and other places who were working, started leaving Florida to other states. And the farmers and the businesses came to the politicians and said, what the heck are you doing? Do you want our industries to collapse? And the result was that they had a town hall, called in all these workers' representatives and told them, look, we're just trying to appear tough. We are really not going to enforce the law. So please don't go, just stay. This is just for politics. So it is not going to come to a point where they are going to be rounding up people in large numbers and all that, because a lot of businesses in America depend on immigration, both legal and undocumented. So I will advise our community that Trump will do a show. They will pack 100 people in a plane and fly them to Guatemala just to show their MAGA base that they're actually enforcing immigration law, they are keeping to their promises. But for them to come to Ghana independence and raid everybody or come to a church, I don't believe that is going to happen soon. Immigration have their hands full with what they are doing now. And we have a lawyers forum and we go there and discuss issues. Even as at now, people that have been arrested who have young children, they are releasing them on bond. Because once you have somebody in detention, you have to feed them. You have to provide them with sanitary facilities. And if you don't have the resources for that many people, what are you going to do? And recently I saw a TikTok video where some police officers and sheriffs went to a farm and gathered all the Mexican workers, and they were telling them, they say, look, we don't enforce immigration law. We are not coming here to raid you. If you see us, don't be scared. If the federal government wants to come and raid the farm, that's their business. We are not going to interfere. But don't think that we are going to come here any day to send any of you anywhere. Why? Because the farm owner may have had a farm in the family for 40 years, for 50 years. And if those workers leave because of an immigration raid, or they are afraid that immigration is going to come there, then that is the end. 45,000 farms file for bankruptcy every year in the United States. That is why a lot of farmers are subsidized by the federal government. A lot of farmers are paid subsidy just to remain. So if you add to that by going to raid farms and those workers leave, no American is going to wake up at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. to go and work for 8 hours plucking oranges. No American is going to wake up at 4 a.m. to go and milk cows the whole day. No America is going to wake up and go to a poultry processing factory to go and be in that, environment for hours, smelling all that for the whole day. So even the Republican supporters of Trump, the people who have the money, who have all these businesses, know that if Trump were really to enforce immigration by raiding all those places, that would be the end of their businesses. So the secret that everybody keeps, but nobody tells you, is that the Trump supporters are the biggest beneficiaries of undocumented immigrants. They may want him to just make a show that he's enforcing the law, send a few soldiers to the border, do a few things to make his MAGA base happy. But I don't see them anytime raiding independence celebrations, raiding churches, raiding Ceana meetings. I don't see that happening.
Okay. We have quite a few questions. Mama Marco, do you have a question before we go to the tester?
Madakuku and Okomama Global Day, from what I am gathering now, I know we should get ourselves informed. Na minya miakwa right today. Na ICE approach me, we would know how to address issues with them. Lawyer AKPALU, some basic human rights, right to life, life to freedom of expression, freedom of religion, right to fair trial. Right, so kakana ICE approach me de. Me have another right. Me I think Aglo no Madakuku I think call me no approach me a local leba me a.
Okay. Now, if you are in your house or in your apartment and there's a knock on the door and you ask who it is over ISA, the first thing you should do is ask them if they have a warrant. Okay, if they have a warrant, and if they have a warrant, ask them to slide the warrant under the door.
Okay.
Or you can open the door slightly with the chain attached, the hook attached, and take the warrant. Now, the warrant has to be signed by a judge. And
Okay.
it has to name a specific individual. Okay. Now, having a warrant to detain a person for deportation does not mean a warrant to search your home.
Okay.
There is a difference between a search warrant and a deportation warrant. So a warrant directed at a particular individual is not a warrant to search your home.
Okay.
You should first ask them if they have a warrant, and if they have a warrant, that you should inspect the warrant and make sure the warrant is signed by the judge. Now, so you don't have an obligation to open the door for them to enter, because your house is your castle. So you don't have the obligation to open the door. The only way they can have access to you is if they have a warrant. The warrant is signed by the judge, and the warrant directs them to that specific place or to a specific individual. Now, if they are questioning you, you have a right to remain silent. You have that. You can just tell them, I exercise my right to remain silent. I'm not going to answer your questions. Okay. If they show you a document to identify it, you can tell them, I'm silent. I'm not going to identify any document. However, do not show immigration any false documents. Okay. Do not show immigration any false document, but do not identify any document that they show you. Just tell them we are not going to comment. Okay. You also have a right to speak to a lawyer.
Okay.
So you should have a lawyer's number on you. And if they take you into custody or they restrain you, you can tell them that you want to call your lawyer, and you have a right to call your lawyer. Even if they take you into detention, you still have the right to talk to a lawyer. Whilst you're in detention, they have to give you the means, which is a phone, or allow you to use a phone, if you have one, to call your lawyer. Okay? If they give you any paperwork to sign, don't sign the paperwork if you don't know what is in it. For all you know, they may not have a right to detain you or to deport you, but if you sign the paperwork and the paperwork says, I am agreeing to be deported, or I am agreeing to be detained, and you did not know that portion, or you did not read it properly, it's like you have a fine print in your credit card agreement which you don't read and you just sign.
Right.
So anything they give you to sign, tell them, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to sign. I want to speak to a lawyer. I want the lawyer to explain this to me before I sign. So those are the things that you have to be careful about. Okay. There is one law which they don't enforce. They call it harboring an illegal immigrant.
Right.
So technically, if you allow somebody who is undocumented to stay with you, knowing that the person is undocumented, you can be charged with harboring an illegal immigrant. You can say you didn't know the person's immigration status, you didn't ask the person. But only a lawyer will tell you to say that. And also, I would advise that we all make copies of our green card and keep in our wallet, even if you don't have the actual one with you, because there's a law that says you have to carry your permanent residence card with you. Most people don't have that, or they don't know about that law. But there's a requirement in immigration law that any resident alien here have to carry their green card. So if they are stopped by immigration, they can show that green card. So you can either have a photo of it on your phone or make a photocopy and keep in your wallet, because Immigration could go somewhere and sweep everybody. And if they don't know that you are a green card holder or even a citizen, they might take you into detention before they release you later.
They were right.
All right. Yo, Laya, Marco, there are a few other questions. I have a question about DACA, but there is a question online. Mama,
Sister Melba Biabiambade, if someone is an illegal immigrant but her son is of age to file for her, should they proceed with the application for the green card? Over to you, Lawyer AKPALU.
Okay, so that term illegal immigrant covers so many people, right? There are some that if your son or daughter is of age, that's 21 and over, they can file for you. There are some situations they cannot file for you. Okay. So let's say you came in, you filed for asylum, you were ordered deported, or you took voluntary departure and you did not leave, and you are still here. Your son or daughter cannot file for you. Because if you're ordered deported, you are supposed to be outside the US for 20 years and even ask for permission to come back. So technically, you are not even here for your son or daughter to file for you. But if you came with a visa and you overstayed, the fact that you overstayed will not be used against you. Your son or daughter can file for you. In fact, most people that will file for are people who came with a visa and they overstayed. Now, if you came with a visa and overstayed, but you have some criminal record or some dealing with immigration, your son or daughter can file for you depending on what it was that shows up in your record. Now, there is a group of people who we say are grandfathered. And those people, their son or daughter can file for them. And I'm going to explain that. There was a law passed on December 21st of 2000. Okay, now, before I even say that, let me go back. Before September 11, 2001, Senator Kennedy and other senators passed a law because previously, if you were in the US without a visa or your visa has expired, you have to go back to your country to get a green card visa to come back into the US. You cannot adjust your status in the US. Some people are given permission to go to Canada. We call it stateside. We call it stateside application. So you go to Canada, interview there, get your visa before you come back to the US. Senator Kennedy and some senators said, look, if we have these people going back to their country to interview and coming back, why don't we allow them to pay a penalty here in America so immigration service can make money and so they can apply for their green card here? So they came up with a provision called Section 245I of the immigration law that if you entered without inspection, that you didn't come with a visa, upon payment of $1,000 penalty, you can get your green card here without having to go back to Ghana or Mexico or wherever you're from. So that was a boon to so many people because so many people came without a valid visa. That program was for 3 years and was supposed to be extended depending on how much money immigration got and how useful the program was. After September 11, 2001, the program was not renewed because some of the people who came and caused that havoc were here as students. They didn't study. Some came on a visitor's visa, they overstayed. So they said, well, if people came with a visa and we did background check, a little background check on them before giving them the visa, what about those who came in inspected? And we don't know anything about them. Why should they just pay a penalty and they get a green card? What shows that they are not going to be here planning something in the future? So they ended that 245I program so that people could no longer pay the $1,000 penalty and get a green card here. but they made an exception, which we call grandfathering. They made an exception. So now, and I'm filing some for some people now.
Okay.
Now, if you can show that before 1998, you married a citizen and filed for your green card, and for some reason you didn't get a green card, you filed a valid application, you didn't get a green card, then you can still file now and pay the $1,000 based on the fact that as of that time you had filed an approvable application which was denied. So you are grandfathered. Okay. So before 1998, you married and filed before 1998. Grandfathered. However, if you married and filed before April 30th, 2001, if you married and filed before April 30th, 2001, you are also grandfathered. You can also file and get your green card if you filed a previous application, but you have to show that on December 21st of 2000, you were physically present in the US.
Okay.
Because what they do is that when they pass a law, they don't want people to fly from all over the world to come and take advantage of that law.
Sure.
So when they passed the amnesty in 1986, yes, when Reagan passed the amnesty, Reagan said, okay, I'm passing amnesty in 1986, but that is for people who were here in the US
right.
January 1st, 1982.
Sure.
So you can hear, oh, there's an amnesty, and then you fly from your country and say, oh, well, let me also apply for the amnesty. So they made it for people who are already here.
Okay.
So to be grandfathered, if you married and filed after 1998, but by April 30th, 2001, you have to show you were physically present here on December 21st of 2000 when the law was passed. So if you can prove that, then your son or daughter who is a citizen and over 21 can file for you.
Okay.
But you need a lawyer in those situations because the lawyer has to prove to immigration why you should be grandfathered.
Sure.
And in fact, there was someone I applied for maybe 20 years ago. I wrote a memo attached to the application. And when we went for the interview, we waited for about 15, 20 minutes before we were called. And when I went, the first thing the officer told me was that I read your memo, I'm convinced, therefore I'm going to approve you. So yes, those are situations. So you have to know your status
right
before you put in that application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yo, Akpa.
So let me add one thing. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Okay. Let's say you married a citizen for a green card, right? And immigration determines that the marriage was fraudulent. They put a fraud on your file. Now your child is 21, 22, 23. Yes, your child can file for you because you still came in with a visa. But know that you had filed something with immigration before. Know that there's a fraud finding on your file, and that can affect whether this application by your son or daughter will go through. So on a broader level, yes, your son or daughter who is above 21 can file for you, but you have to check a few things before you put it in the application. Thank you.
Okay. Yo, Lawyer AKPALU, thank you so much. Manyaba, there were over about 50 something people watching. And
yes, very impressive. Very impressive.
And there are so many other people watching that we know, and there's a lot of questions. Yet we've asked for about 15 more minutes, so we'll have 15 more minutes. Then we would have to bring this to a close. If need be, Marco would call AKPALU back to come. This is the second time that he's come here. He has applied to Ceana Central. I mean,
Lawyer AKPALU, but I want to ask Lawyer AKPALU something real quick. If I should pick us, we can call you, right?
Yes.
We can. I want to make sure. I'm the lawyer. Let me ask you.
Yeah, Marco, there are two questions. We'll take a break. One of the questions has to do with DACA, but if you have the deferred action for childhood arrivals, this executive orders, does it affect any of the DACA children that we have? In your view, okay, they have been here undocumented, and so I have one question about that. Then there's a second question. Yeah, but you are here, you were married, and you began the process, but for some reason, your wife got lost for so many years. You didn't do anything about it. You only came to find out that your wife went to prison, and thereafter she passed away. But you haven't proceeded with your case. Do you have an opportunity now that you have found this out? Do you have an opportunity to proceed with your case, and what are your chances? Aloba, they need to call you. Let's take a quick break. Then when we come back, then you can give us some brief on those two questions.
Don't touch that dial, people. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Ceana TV. You are watching from Ceana Central, hosted by Ofo Steve and Empress Mawushi. Ceana, helping build Everland.
Are you ready to start a rewarding career in healthcare? Become a certified home health aide in the state of New Jersey with our 2-week training program. Enroll today to begin your journey. It is simple. Email us at pccshhtrainingschool@gmail.com or newmanpccsinfo@gmail.com to reserve your spot in our New Jersey Board of Nursing approved training course. Receive expert training. Our hands-on comprehensive home health aid program offers more than just knowledge. It provides real-world experience. Learn directly from seasoned professionals who will guide you every step of the way. Transform your future with skills that truly makes a difference. Begin your career with expert guidance and hands-on practice. You will be certified and ready to launch a successful career as a home health aide. Don't wait. Start your healthcare journey with us today. Contact us to enroll. Call us at 862-755-8464 or 848-218-1555 or 773-960-5416 or send an email to pccshhtrainingschool@gmail.com or newmanpccsinfo@gmail.com. What are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity to transform your future with skills that truly makes a difference.
Ahodo you. Yo, welcome back to Ceana Central. Lawyer AKPALU. Yeah, he's been giving us a lot of thanks and of information. Mama do chove do avia venga jimavia. Yo. Yeah, AKPALU, after me that break, I have some questions for you. But questions via over a kaji. Let's go to the questions that came in before we go back to my questions. Okay, so let's read just some of the questions. Okay, Mama, no, we read, we took care of us already. Okay, so let's go to
Mama Lee, but if you file for your kids, can you still apply for school for them as international
students.
students?
Yes.
Okay. If you file for your children in Ghana and you file as a green card holder or you file as a citizen, it depends on whether the children are entitled to a visa to come right away or they are on a waiting list. Every month, the U.S. State Department publishes what is called Visa Bulletin. Visa Bulletin shows who is eligible to come to the U.S. now. So assuming you file for the children and there's a 5-year waiting period before they can come to America, and apply for a student visa for them to come. But some consular officers at the U.S. Embassy will think that since you applied for them to come to the U.S., you want them to come and live here permanently. And you are applying for a student visa for them because you don't want them to wait in Ghana as everyone else is waiting all over the world. So you want to jump the line by applying for an F1 visa for them so they can come and go to school and wait here instead of waiting in Ghana. So yes, you can apply for them. There is no law which says that if you have filed for your children, you cannot apply for them to come to school. But immigration officers look at two things, or rather consular officers look at two things. They look at whether the person is coming to stay here permanently and is pretending that they want to just come and go back, or whether the person is trying to jump the line. For example, if you apply for your brother or sister as a U.S. citizen, it takes anywhere now between 15 to 20 years before they can come. So if you apply for your brother or sister and you are a U.S. citizen and they are waiting for the next 15 to 20 years, and at the same time you are applying for a student visa for them, they may think that you want them to come on the student visa and finish school and stay here because it is too much for them to wait in Ghana for the 20 years. So it depends on how the U.S. consulate looks at the application and the reason why you are filing for the F1 visa for them.
Okay. Oh, now, but the case is at NVC, the
now,
National
yeah.
Visa. Yeah.
Okay, well, if the case is at NVC, it means that it depends on the stage of the case. First of all, when immigration approves your petition, they send the petition to the National Visa Center in New Hampshire. New Hampshire will then send you a receipt and an invoice number. With the receipt and invoice number, you pay for the visa fee, which is $325, and you also pay for the affidavit of support, which is $120. After you pay that, you're supposed to file a visa application online, and you're supposed to upload certain documents, including affidavit of support. After you've done all that, then they'll say that you are qualified documentarily, or DQ, we call it DQ. Then they'll hold your file, and then they'll contact the U.S. Embassy to see if they have a date that they can interview the person in Ghana. It is taking very long now. Some people are waiting for a year, some waiting for a year and a half. So I don't know what stage the application has reached. It can be with NVC at the initial stage where you have just paid your visa fee and then the affidavit of support. It could also be that you finish everything, you've submitted all the documentation, and you are qualified and they are just waiting for the visa interview. So yes, even if the application is at the National Visa Center, once your intention is for the person in Ghana to interview and come here as an immigrant, if they think that the F1 visa is jumping the line, they may still refuse the visa, and they have discretion. Visas that are denied by the consulate are not appealable. So you can try applying for the F1 visa. Sometimes it's a question of luck. You may meet one consular officer who will approve it. You may meet another who will not approve it. There was a lady who went to apply for student visa recently, and they asked her, "Oh, do you have any children?" I said, "Oh, yes, I have one child." And the lady told them she had a child here in the US. Okay, so they said, "Well, it's very expensive to have a baby in the US. Did you pay the hospital for, having the child?" She said no. They said, "Okay, go and come." And the next time she went, they denied her the student visa. And she went to the UK and applied there. They contacted the Ghana embassy, the US embassy in Ghana, to find out about her. And they told them that she had a baby in the US, an uncle baby. So they also denied her. She may have
prime part to fire.
seen another officer who will not make any issue of that and then giving her the student visa because she had all the funds and everything for the visa. So it depends on who you meet. So yes, you can apply, but it depends on the consular officer that you meet.
Okay. All right. AKPALU Blumber, it's been 3 years now. So, they can contact you. We flash your phone number. If you have any other questions, they just call AKPALU. Minyaba, he's a very expensive lawyer, very seasoned. He could be very expensive, but by virtue of Ceana, I'm not sure. But some of these questions, I don't know pro bono.
Okay, let me also say this. When you complete your application with the National Visa Center, they go in and make certain comments. If you're not a lawyer or you don't know about it, or you think, "Oh, I'm waiting for 2 years, I'm waiting for 3 years," maybe there's a comment there that the marriage certificate or the birth certificate you submitted is not clear. They need a clearer copy. And if you don't go and check that and submit a new birth certificate, you'll be waiting and waiting and waiting and say, "Oh, my child is waiting. It's been 2 years. It's been 3 years." Meanwhile, they are waiting for something that you don't know because you did it yourself and you did not go back to check. So it is very important, if the person has been waiting for long, it's very important to find out why the person is waiting that long. Thank you.
AKPALU Marco, and Mama have any question? If I can ask me a question, I got a test, but I have been here for many years now. I was married to an American citizen, and we had issues, and who had filed for me. But we had soon after she filed for me, we had issues and we got separated. I also found out that she was involved in some illegalities. So we got separated. I hadn't heard from her for a while. I later became aware that she went to jail, and after she was released from jail, she had passed away. I still haven't gotten my green card because I haven't pursued it. What are my chances now?
Okay, that person needs to talk to a lawyer.
Okay.
For the lawyer to delve into all those issues. Now, first of all, you can file for your green card after your U.S. citizen spouse has died. But there is a time limit. So 2 years after the death of your U.S. citizen spouse, you can self-petition. You can self-petition because there was a time when people would be married to U.S. servicemen who would go to Iraq or Afghanistan and die. And those servicemen would have petitioned for their wives or their husbands. And because the law is that anytime a petitioner dies, the petition also dies, those people were left stranded. So imagine you go and get a fiancé visa for someone from Pakistan, you bring them here, you marry and file for them, you go to war in Iraq and you die there in Iraq. And because of that, the people can no longer get their green card. So they passed a law that 2 years after the death of your U.S. citizen spouse, you can self-petition. Okay, but you again have to prove that the marriage was not a contract marriage. It was not an immigration marriage. And that the marriage was a marriage that was done in good faith. You know, so there are requirements about how long after the person died. There are requirements about proving that the initial marriage was not a fraudulent marriage. So those are all issues that you need to see a lawyer to review your whole file. And the lawyer may even do a freedom of information request and get your file from immigration to see if your deceased wife may have called in and said, well, you know, he paid me to marry him, or I don't want to file for him anymore. He deceived me. There could be something in the file,
right,
that may come to haunt you if you know.
Okay.
Petition. So it's best to go and see a lawyer and review all that before filing. Now you also asked about DACA.
Right.
Okay. So DACA is deferred action for childhood arrival. So people who come here with their young children, the notion is that it is not the children's fault,
right,
that they were brought here illegally by their parents.
Right.
Why should we punish them?
Okay.
But the Republicans have been very adamant that we don't care that they were children. Once they are here unlawfully, they shouldn't have any status. So what happened was that they passed a law to give them at least the right to work here and get their social security card. And the law was, the application was renewable.
Right.
The work permit was renewable. However, Trump is determined to end the DACA program. So as of now, those who already have the DACA can renew their work permits, but they are not accepting any new applications.
Okay. Okay.
They are not accepting any new applications. The case is in court. It was litigated in the Southern District of Texas court, but the case is bound to go on appeal and even end up in the Supreme Court. Okay. So as of now, people who have DACA can renew their work permit, but they are not accepting any new applications.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, we need to, bring this. Manyaba, we've shared a lot of information with us today. Number mia aglonya the shada egba ambi pakmago ni mama Sedudzi ejebu ave dida me vie got a troga ida dome na amada ni alone jima America mi va pom your banker nami. Mama is the hardest working woman that I know. We need to take a break. Like a lawyer, we need to let lawyer go. I will take just about 1 or 2 comments, then we would wrap this up. Marco, Mama, Marco, my cases are in the National Visa Center since 2020, but still no updates from the National Visa Center. Yema Oba and your lawyer, there could be something going on with the file, the best in India, but they can call you or they can call any immigration lawyer for advice. Gaka Nyato, Egba lawyer, AKPALU, Egble Yebagam, Val Nomyang, Nanyada la Shio Kude, immigration issues. Ella Pepe, but Ella, New York area, fear, Gaka his license to practice everywhere. Me support me anonyo na bia la show na yos ya na nkokodi akpoma na gakede Marco yeba number mami dada ekajivayi Marco mi no numbers more daddy na bia la niashi na hia ba mi adogo aba New York afia abakwede akwe anonyi plemi ba mi nye amanovi wanoi plemi akpoma ado anokori no yeta Marco kama se afia mama Marco bia la show afi mi adashi lawyer AKPALU.
Biabia kamala nyauli fun gaka aba ale nanyana kumacho dome ya maka yiga ha talaba mai mabaji demavie gaka the comments session is open lawyer AKPALU have a number la fima though but programmer awunu ha still he is willing to answer questions miaha will be monitoring the question adava nemia nojina wote answer me question about NVC. I found a video, and what I did was when I wasn't hearing from them, them you now Anglo letter no, Anglo letter no, and they will be like, oh, we sent a correspondence, maybe Mahuyo, And then I'll tell them, okay, please send it again. And then that I was following up all the time. That mother kukumia file ko on you me follow up. That monokboba you are very determined, but you won't over do me but your file now no you true na me. Allo lawyer paluma na mai.
Daname Gaka is it as I said we have a portal. There's a portal I can go in with your file number and your invoice number and find out everything in the file, including the correspondence, including documents that have been asked for. Ghana immigration, at our U.S. consulate down here, you will make a comment on the file. And because you are doing it by yourself, you don't have a lawyer that you don't know the exact commenter. You'll be waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yes.
And one day they will tell you that the visa has expired and therefore they are closing the file. They are returning the file to the U.S. here.
Yeah.
I know we all want to save money, but if a lawyer takes your case, the lawyer has a professional responsibility to make sure that he or she is on top. The other thing, if you have a lawyer representing you, anything they send you, they will send a copy to the lawyer. Sometimes people move and they don't have a forwarding address, so they will send you something which you are not aware of. But if you have a lawyer, they will send a copy to the lawyer. Sometimes they will email you something, and you may not check your email, or it may go into your spam or trash, and they are waiting for the response from you. The response doesn't come, and then they close your file. I've had situations where they wrote to someone in December of last year. They gave the person up to February 2nd. The person didn't even know that he or she received that email, and now the time has passed. And all the money the person spent filing now is going to be wasted if they just close the file. So if you have somebody waiting 2-3 years, it's possible that there is a notation in the file that, look, your marriage certificate is not very clear. We need another copy. Or you send us your 2023 tax returns. Please send us the accompanying W-2s. If you are not able to find that information, you'll be waiting and waiting and waiting and say, my kid has been waiting for 3-4 years and nothing is happening. So I'm not making an advert for lawyers, but lawyers have a professional responsibility. And that is why, for example, if you come to me to file for citizenship, I don't just take your money and complete the forms for you. First of all, I have to inquire into how you got your green card. I have to know if you have any problems when you were here. If you were in court, I want to get a certificate of disposition. I want to find so many things before we even start anything. That I will encourage everybody, especially in these times, to seek legal help. In the past, when you go for a marriage interview and they deny you, and they will just put your file somewhere and say, go home. In these times, if they deny you and they suspect that the marriage is not proper, they may send you for what is called a Stokes interview. At a Stokes interview, they interview you separately. And at that time, if you don't have a lawyer, they may pressure the woman and threaten her with jail, and she may spill the beans and say, you paid her this amount to marry you. And then once they put a fraud on your file, that is the end. So the lawyer being there will prevent them from even asking certain questions, because the lawyer will not allow them to ask certain questions. So please protect yourselves in these times by seeking legal advice. Not only me. If you have some issue, please contact a lawyer before you file anything. And if you have any doubts, let the lawyer request your file from immigration. I have been able to request files from Ghana, because there are people who went to contractors or connection men to file for them, to file for visas for them. Now the connection man knows that if you say you are single, the U.S. consulate will think that you will not come back to Ghana. So they put some woman's name there and say you are married. And you come here, you marry here, you are filing an application with immigration, and they ask you your marital status, you put single. You forgot that the connection man put married.
Connection man banza.
All immigration has to do is send a cable to the State Department, to the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, and they'll bring them a copy of your file. And once you don't have a divorce from that woman in Ghana, it means that your marriage is fraudulent. So there are so many things that have come up, and I advise people here to consult an attorney. And I know I'm going on and on but let me add one thing. I've had a few Ghanaians who apply for Social Security disability. Most of the work I do is on workers' compensation, personal injury, and Social Security. So they apply for Social Security disability. Now, you have to have worked here for 10 years to qualify for Social Security. They didn't work for 10 years because maybe they were old in Ghana, their kids filed for them. They came here, they worked for a few years, and they couldn't work more than that because they're in their 60s or their 70s. When they apply for Social Security, instead of giving them disability, because they didn't work for 10 years, they were going to give them SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income, which is like welfare. So they give you a little money, $600, $500, $700 a month to live on. And that money is given to you if you don't have any money or asset over $2,000 in New York. So if you have money in the bank, $2,200, you don't qualify. If you have a car worth more than that, you don't qualify. If you have any property. So people from our community filing that, instead of consulting me or some other lawyer, will go and file the application themselves. And then they'll ask you, oh, do you have any property anywhere? Oh, yes, I have a house in Ghana. And then what do they say? Oh, excellent. Where is the house? It's in Accra. Okay. The minimum value for a house in that location is $50,000. So guess what? You have $50,000 of income or assets. So you are not qualified for SSI. So the bottom line is that not only in immigration, anything you want to do, any application that requires you to provide some information, please seek legal advice. Because if you go and tell Social Security you have a house in Ghana, you come to see me afterwards, you cannot go and tell them a different story. Thank you.
Yo, like AKPALU, yeah. Mama said the jiva, I very recipe, I feel I did domain, so be a more. Yo, Maraku talk me Agbelam Haba. What about people coming to the US from Ghana with visa? Nyamanyana, if you understand, talk me Agbelam, Agbotoko, a Beliapa question now. Miaba Ceana rep here, Ghana, yeah, question up here. Want talk me Agbelam very well.
When you talk about Agbelam, I mean, there's nothing preventing you from coming here with a visa. A visa is a valid document granting you permission to enter the US. As I said, anytime you come to the US with a visa, you are presenting yourself for admission. Tamituba Nava visa. Ye oboke no call again a conference. NYAMADI, you are coming to stay in a hotel. How much do you have on you? I have $200. How long are you staying here? I'm staying for 2 weeks. Equita.
Yeah.
You cannot be coming here. You don't know anybody. You are going to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks and you have only $200 on you.
Yeah.
So that will make immigration inquire further.
Yeah.
You know, and then they search through your bag and they see that, you know, somebody say, oh, there's a job here that you can come and do. I've applied for this job for you. Or they find something which is inconsistent with the visa that you are holding. So it means by you went and lied to U.S. Embassy that you want to just come and visit, but your intention is to come and stay here. So that is one way that you can have a visa to enter the U.S., but based on how you answer questions at the airport, they may send you back or the thing.
Okay, AKPA. Yo, me have a former first lady, that Catherine Abochi have a great information lawyer AKPALU. So today we've been so privileged to have lawyer AKPALU with us. He's been with us for over 2 hours now, breaking down all the immigration myths. Yeba phone number malafia. Na jole mi jola kajia na biada shade kali any information you need with regards to immigration. Gaka, he's not only an immigration lawyer, he has expertise in so many other things, as you heard me read his bio earlier on. And even with areas that he may not have a direct expertise, he has a group of friends that they work together. So he's here, he's your help, and make him your first all sharp. What is it? All sharp stop, or what is it called? All stop shop. Just give him a call and he'll be able to guide you. Alo akpede miangu. Eta bao miaba vejolo. Eta mi have a beviada la miadoma. E mi leader she says then the shade. Biabia biabia kali kwa yeba phone abala fia maruku miye. Na wa akpede miangu. Kami asa agbaton fia. We have to bring tonight's discussions to an end somehow. But Dunenyo Bobobo is ongoing. We have to join the live feed in Ghana. So we have to break away after the closing remarks from Lawyer AKPALU. AKPALU, Lawyer AKPALU, meet AKPALU.
Thank you.
Your closing remarks.
Oh, closing remarks is that the U.S. is supported by immigration or immigrants. And a lot of those immigrants are undocumented. So even as Trump and his MAGA followers are showing that they are enforcing the law, we shouldn't necessarily panic. People should go about their activities, especially if they're in large groups, without fear about immigration is going to come and surround them and arrest everybody. What is happening is that there's a lot of panic, which is not justified. If you have a deportation order, if you have a criminal record, yes, immigration might be looking for you. But if you're just here, you overstayed your visa, you don't have any issue with the police, you don't have any issue with immigration, I don't think we should be very worried as of this time. And I will invite everybody to go to celebrations, go to outdoors, waykeepings, funerals, go to Ceana. I don't believe anything is going to happen that drastically. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, AKPALU is a constant attendee of Ceana. If you have any questions about Ceana, please feel assured. Not only does he have his number for you to call, he's going to be there in person with the whole family. I think they are also law students by now, so they'll practice for you if you have a case. So don't worry. Don't worry. So come to Ceana. As we know, Ceana is coming on live. Let me register the place not the zone. Then I register. It's coming on in Dallas this year. So please. Mariko, me a mistake with the phone number. Phone number where can me post bar. Mariko, you can disregard it. This is the surest number to get in touch with Lawyer AKPALU. So please give him a call at any time. With any questions that you have. I'm a shaman for all of you joining us this afternoon or this evening, wherever you may be joining us from, because we know there is quite a lot of you joining us from all over the world. I've seen people join us from London. I've gotten a call from London, from Mianovi. John Mensah called us from London. We have calls from Ireland. We have calls from Ghana. We have viewers from Germany. And of course, most of you here in the US and Canada, all over the place. Togbi Agbelom is joining us all the way from Ghana. So we want to thank all of you. Without you, we would have been here speaking hours for nothing. So we really appreciate you being here. Don't forget, AKPALU is always available to us. Next week, I will be talking to Reverend Martin Osai. Reverend Martin Osai is going to be online with us next week, and we will be talking about something that you don't want to mix, so that you want to be here and listen to. It's also along the same lines. We'll talk about mentorship and navigating your child through the American education system. So we'll be talking about that. Akamala Shobela AKPALU would avail himself for us again. And if you have, in the meantime, before we get him to come back to the studio, if you have any questions, please reach him at 718 718-828-0888. Once again, 718-828-0888. But as he rightly stated, Miracle, enjoy yourself. Go about what your business. Amadek Bleber, Miafogan Trump is just doing this for sure. Just be careful. Just be careful. As we always say, take care of yourselves and of each other. Until we meet again next week. Manku nyankwenye Steve. Akpena milo ka Marku na magasan konya ka mabiamolo. Donenyo akpena mi kemiaga dogo next week Saturday. Mama Sedudzi ha abiamo aklamilo ka mi klami. Bye-bye. Peace. We are out.
I really love to stay with you. I really have to go back home.
The beat scientist.
Tu me yo me sois bewo. Tu me yo me sois bewo. Tu me yo me sois bewo. Tu me yo me sois bewo.